May 7, 1945, Germany surrenders, but in Tokyo, Japanese high command refuses to believe it. One general calls it betrayal. Another says it's a Western trick. The third? He understands what it means, and what he says changes everything. Because when Japan realizes they're now fighting alone, their response isn't what anyone expected. What they say in that war room will decide the fate of millions. But first, they have to accept the truth. Their most powerful ally is gone. The Axis is broken. Tokyo receives the first reports. Berlin has fallen. Hitler is dead. But the Japanese generals don't react with grief. They react with silence. The radio crackles. German broadcasts go dark. The embassy in Berlin sends one final coded message: surrender confirmed. General Anami reads it twice. His face doesn't move, but his voice drops to a whisper. We are alone. The room stays quiet. Then General Umezu speaks. He's chief of the army. He says Germany's defeat is temporary, that Japan must fight harder. But not everyone agrees. General Tojo, once prime minister, now sidelined, leans forward. He says Germany's collapse means something deeper. It means the Allies will now turn everything toward Japan. Every ship, every bomb, every soldier. The Pacific will burn. The generals gather around the map. Europe is red. Japan is surrounded. General Kawabe, head of intelligence, reads intercepted Allied plans. Operation Downfall, a full-scale invasion of Japan. He says Germany's surrender accelerates everything. The Americans will come faster, harder, with no distractions. One general asks, "Can we win?" Kawabe doesn't answer. He just places a photo on the table. It's Berlin, in ruins. The room goes cold. General Anami slams his fist. He says Japan is not Germany, that surrender is not an option. But then a new report arrives. This one from Switzerland. It confirms the Nazi leadership is gone. Goebbels, Himmler, dead. Only Admiral Dönitz remains, and he's negotiating peace. General Sugiyama, former chief of staff, reads the report. He says Germany didn't just lose, they collapsed. Their ideology, their command, their morale, gone. And Japan? Japan is next. But Anami refuses to accept it. He orders a full review of Japan's defenses. The results are terrifying.
Tokyo's bunkers are incomplete. Kyushu's beaches are exposed. The Navy is crippled. The Air Force is running out of fuel. General Kawabe says it plainly. If the Americans land, we cannot stop them. The room goes silent again. Then someone asks, what about Germany's scientists? The answer, captured, working for America now. The implications hit hard. If Germany's technology goes to the Allies, Japan falls even faster. Rocket systems, jet engines, maybe even atomic research. General Toroshiro, who studied nuclear theory, says one thing: if they build the bomb before us, it's over. Nobody argues. They all know he's right. Then the diplomats speak. Japan's ambassador to Germany sends his final message. He says Berlin is a graveyard, that the people begged for peace, that the SS burned their own archives. He ends with one line: Germany died with silence. The generals read it and realize Japan might die with fire. General Umezu proposes a new strategy: fight harder, dig deeper, turn every citizen into a soldier. But General Tojo disagrees. He says Japan must negotiate, that the emperor's survival matters more than pride. The room splits. Honor versus survival, just like in Hiroshima, but this time there's no bomb, just inevitability. Then the emperor speaks, not publicly, not yet, but through his advisors. He says Japan must prepare for the worst, that Germany's fall is a warning, not just of defeat, but of annihilation. The generals listen, some nod, others look away. General Anami stands. He says Japan will never surrender, that Germany's weakness is not Japan's fate. But his voice shakes. He knows the truth. They all do. Germany's collapse isn't just military, it's psychological, and Japan's morale is cracking. Then news arrives. America is massing troops in the Pacific. The Soviets are preparing to invade from the north. Japan is being squeezed. And Germany? Germany is a memory. General Kawabe reads a new report. It's from the OSS, American Intelligence. It says Japan is next, that the Allies will demand unconditional surrender, that the emperor may be removed. The generals react with fury, but also fear, because if Germany couldn't stop it, how could they? General Tojo speaks again. He says Japan must preserve its soul, even if the body dies, that surrender is not weakness, it's survival. But Anami disagrees. He says Japan must fight to the last man, that Germany's mistake was giving up too soon. The room erupts, voices clash, maps are slammed, but no one has a solution. Then a final message arrives from Moscow. The Soviets have broken the non-aggression pact. They're coming from the north, from the sea, from the sky. Japan is surrounded, and Germany? Germany is a memory.
General Anami walks to the window. He looks out at Tokyo. He says one line: Germany died in silence. We will die in fire. The room goes quiet because they all know it's true. The generals reconvene. This time, the mood is different. Not defiant, not proud, just quiet. They sit around the table. No one speaks. Then General Sugiyama breaks the silence. He says Japan must face reality. Germany is gone. Italy surrendered years ago. Japan is alone, and the Allies are coming. General Anami clenches his jaw. He says Japan will fight to the end, that surrender is dishonor, that Germany's mistake was weakness. But General Kawabe interrupts. He says Germany didn't surrender out of weakness. They surrendered because they saw the future. And it was fire, bombs, cities erased, millions dead. Japan must choose pride or survival. Then a new voice enters the room. Not a general, not a diplomat, a scientist. Dr. Yoshio Nishina. Japan's top physicist. He's been tracking Allied research. He says America is close to something devastating, something Germany couldn't finish, an atomic bomb. The generals freeze. They've heard rumors, but now it's real. Nishina explains the science: splitting atoms, chain reactions, energy beyond imagination. He says Germany tried, failed, but America, they have the resources, the minds, the urgency, and now Germany's scientists. General Torashiro asks the question, how soon? Nishina doesn't answer. He just says, if they succeed, Japan will vanish. The room erupts. Arguments, denials, fear. But beneath it all, one truth remains. Germany is gone, and Japan is next. General Anami stands again. He says Japan must prepare, not just for invasion, but for annihilation. He orders new defenses, new strategies. But General Tojo shakes his head. He says it's too late, that Japan must negotiate, that the emperor must be protected. The room splits again. Then the emperor speaks, this time directly. He says Japan must endure, must survive, that Germany's fall is a lesson, not in defeat, but in responsibility. He says Japan must bear the unbearable. The generals listen. Some cry, others bow. General Anami doesn't speak. He walks to the map. He looks at Europe, at Germany, at the ruins. Then he looks at Japan, still standing, but surrounded. He says one line, Germany died in silence. We will not. The next morning, the generals meet again. But something changed. The defiance is gone. Now there's calculation. They speak in hushed tones about evacuation, about preserving the emperor, about what surrender might look like. General Tojo says it plainly. Germany surrendered too late. We must not. But General Anami still resists. He says Japan must fight to the last breath, that surrender is shame, that Germany's collapse proves nothing. But then a final report arrives. From the American press, it says Germany's scientists are already working in U.S. labs, that atomic research is accelerating, that Japan is running out of time. Dr. Nishina returns. He's pale. He says, the Americans are close, very close. He shows calculations, energy yields, blast radius. He says if they succeed, Tokyo will vanish, just like Berlin, just like Hiroshima, if the rumors are true. The generals stare at the numbers. They don't speak. Then General Kawabe says one line, Germany fell to fire. We will fall to light. The room stays silent because they all know what's coming. The emperor calls a private meeting. No generals, just advisors. He asks one question. What did Germany teach us? The answer? That pride without strategy is suicide.
that survival requires sacrifice, that Japan must choose its future, not just its past. The next day, General Anami writes a letter. It's short. It says, Japan must fight, but also prepare. He doesn't say surrender, but he doesn't say victory either. He ends with one line. Germany died in silence. We will speak through fire. Weeks later, Hiroshima vanishes, then Nagasaki. The atomic age begins. But Japan's reckoning started earlier, in that war room, when they realized Germany was gone, when they understood they were alone, when they saw the future, and it terrified them. The Japanese High Command's reaction to Germany's collapse wasn't just strategic, it was existential. They didn't just lose an ally, they lost time, they lost options, they lost the illusion of control. And what they said in that room shaped everything that followed. Their response moved from denial to dread, from pride to pragmatism, from alliance to isolation. Germany's surrender didn't just end a war, it began Japan's final chapter, one filled with impossible choices and irreversible consequences. What Japanese High Command said when they realized Germany was losing wasn't just about strategy, it was about survival, about honor, about the end of an era and the beginning of something darker, something atomic, something final.